the Fourth and Forever podcast. I'm your host, Josh Kirby, and let's get into it.
That's a W.
So I know some things with production happened. I put the last episode out a little late, but this will be the next episode. Technically, we're rocking into season 2 starting last week. This will now be episode 2 of season 2 of the podcast. So this week we are going to be talking about the third place teams in the NFL, or at least what I predict will be the third place teams. Then next week we'll do the second place teams, and then when I reveal the first place teams, I'll also drop my overall predictions for the season. Since football's coming up, where it was here, the Hall of Fame game happened. That was lights out. Carson Beck, Hayes King. Man, there was so much excitement around a game that had almost zero importance, but for the players a part of it, it could really make or break their futures. I mean, Hayes King and Carson Beck most likely are making the 53-man rosters now, which Hayes King might not have before this game, and Carson Beck might actually have a starting opportunity now, which he didn't beforehand. But we can get more into that as we see how their careers progress from this point on. But let's get into it. I'm just going to straight up start. Third place team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I think I'm one of those few people that really like Mike McCarthy getting hired. He is a former Super Bowl champion. He helped Rodgers win multiple MVPs. And when he was with the Cowboys, they had 3 back-to-back 12-win seasons. And he helped Dak Prescott play at an MVP caliber level. So, expecting him to come into Pittsburgh, he is going to do very well for this team. I think it's a nice change of pace. You have a true offensive mind in the organization, which we haven't had in a very long time. Outside of that, we also got Pittman, DK Metcalf, 2 solid wide receivers. We have Aaron Rodgers coming into his last season, so you know he's going to leave it all on the line. But truth being told, this is an older roster. This defense regressed throughout the season. We can't trust the health of TJ Watt. Jalen has been a star at safety, but it leaves your other corner spot kind of weak. Overall, I don't know how their draft is going to go. Like I said, there's things I like about this team, so I think they could be a strong third place team. They could be a borderline playoff team. Maybe not make the playoffs, but at least a borderline playoff team. But I think they're a third place team because I think the 2 teams in the division are just that much better. And I think that's what sucks for a lot of these third place teams, is I think they're the third best team in their division, but they're not a bad team. They're just missing certain key components. And I think one of the biggest misses is I still don't love their run game. And they're bringing in Rico Dowdle, who in his small stint with the Carolina Panthers last year really showed out when he had to be the starter. But he was never that caliber with the Cowboys, and now he's got to play a 17-game season. And this offensive line isn't what I would call impressive. So it really makes a difference what this team is going to be moving forward, especially in that realm. Next on the list, I got third place team, the New York Jets. I'm not sold on the coach. I'm not sold on the quarterback, but they got weapons. They got Garrett Wilson, Kenyon Sadiq, Breece Hall. They have they should be a better defense. Aaron Glenn's second year at the defense, they should be. But this is a team that did not force an interception last year. This is a team that struggled to get any wins. This is a team that seemed dysfunctional, disorganized, and across the board, not high on it. I have them higher than the Dolphins because I think they have more talent overall. And Geno has proven in a full season when he was with Seattle that he can perform at a top 15 level. And I think that's something that you can bank on if you were a Jets fan, thinking you might have better quarterback play than you have had in the last couple of years. But I'm not sold on the Jets, and I think this is an easy third place team, as them and the Dolphins are going to compete for last in this division. I just think with more talent, they can get a win over the Dolphins and secure them one spot above them. Next on my list would be the Denver Broncos. This, as a third place team, I think a lot of people would be shocked. But I think a lot of people know, if they've watched my videos going into this season, I'm not high on the Broncos. Sean Payton, as a coach, has had losing seasons, as in when he was in New Orleans with Hall of Fame quarterback Drew Brees. They have won some 7-game seasons. So why can't he do it with a quarterback that I would say is not at the caliber of Drew Brees? And I think we've all seen his ceiling. Now, I think he's a hell of a competitor. I definitely think Bo Nix is a starting quarterback in this league. But is he more of a low end starter? Possibly. Do I think their weapons are better? Yeah, but outside of Sutton and the new addition of Jalen Waddle, I think I think their receivers, you know the names because the Broncos were really good last year. But they also won 11 one-score games, which they're not going to repeat that. Most teams, that's almost impossible to repeat. The last two times teams have done numbers like that have had poor seasons the following years. That was the Chiefs, 2 years ago, and the Vikings a couple years ago. So it's really hard to maintain that kind of success when this defense has regressed by the end of the season. They were going into the season, they were ranked maybe the best defense in the league. Going into the playoffs, they might have been the third best defense in the league, which, I mean, that's not a huge regression, but either way, that's still regression. People were more scared of the Seahawks defense or the Texans defense, and then the Patriots defense showed out in the playoffs. So maybe coming out of the playoffs, they were the fourth ranked defense, which is not something you want. You don't want to see regression like that on defense because it showed when it mattered the most, defense was not a key component to this team, and this offense has an obvious ceiling. I think their run game was okay, but I don't think they have a true number one running back. I think their wide receiver room is good, but it's hard to trust Sutton all year when he's dealt with injuries throughout his career. Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin clearly are not wide receiver ones, and they're borderline twos. Jalen Waddle's a solid two with a potential to be a one, but last year in a chaotic Miami Dolphins team, he was almost invisible, which is a problem. When you're a standout elite wide receiver, you don't go invisible on teams. You still look like the star you should be. So it kind of bothers me that last year the talk for the Dolphins was, damn, Devon Achane is their best player. When Jalen Waddle was a rookie sensation, and then next to Tyreek with Tua was there, was a great number two. So that's something that does worry me going into the Broncos. I just think there's so much going on in that team that I'm not confident moving forward with them to them climbing to the second or first place. And not to mention, Mahomes is back, and Mahomes is not going to be happy with another losing season now. I know that's not completely up to him, but he's going to play his heart out, and he's going to play really hard. And he is definitely a better quarterback than Bo Nix. So where we go from there, that's going to be more of a challenge. And then the Chargers, they got better. They got a better offensive coordinator. They've got better. Their offensive line should be healthy this season. Looks like they've got better on defense. This team has put in the work to keep continuing to build success. I think it's really hard to compete in division. Plus, those Raiders wins aren't going to become as easy this season, as they're going to be a more competent team this season. So the Broncos don't have any just give-me's on their schedule, especially not within the division. So now they are, I think even if they win 9 games, which I don't even know if they'll hit 9 games. I really think it's going to be a rough season for them. I just don't see this team competing like they did the last couple of years. And I don't think it's a knock on Sean Payton. I don't think it's a knock on the Broncos. I just think it's facts. When you look at the across the board, the league is competitive. You can't, even good teams aren't at the top of the NFL every single year. I mean, the Ravens missed the playoffs last year. The Chiefs missed the playoffs having a top 12 pick in the draft. Who would have ever thought that with Mahomes and Andy Reid there? I mean, the Rams a couple years ago had a down season. Like, it does happen. Down seasons do happen in this league, even for the good teams, the good coaches. And when you have a quarterback with an obvious ceiling, it's more likely to happen than not. Next on my list, I got third place, Jacksonville Jaguars. This was my hardest take, knowing they were a dominant offense last season, an underrated defense, and Liam Cohen showed out as a really competent head coach. But was it lightning in the bottle? I think that's what we're all asking ourselves. The team is not as aggressive defensively as the Titans are going to be with the addition of Robert Saleh as head coach, or as the Texans defense, which is probably the best defense in football. So we know they're going to be at a defensive disadvantage against most teams. This offense lost their best weapon in Travis Etienne. He is a formidable running back, and he was the best piece of their offense. The offense ran through him more often than not. So without him being in that offense, you now got to run with, hopefully the guys behind him can step up, and you got to make sure Brian Thomas Jr. can catch, because his rookie season was great, but last year he dropped way too many balls. So in this season, is it Is it going to be him, Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington? I mean, from the outside looking in, a lot of people look at that receiving core and say that looks like an underwhelming receiving core. But if they can step up, that's a very production heavy receiving core if Trevor can have another repeat season he did last year. I think that with this team, they set expectations really high last year for how they performed. But I think the realism of what this team is can they do it again? Can Cohen get the most out of this team again? Can Trevor Lawrence step up and be just as good, if not better, again? Can this wide receiving core put it together and show that they're competitive again? Can this defense still be underrated or properly ranked at a higher level again? That's the biggest issue. You're trying to see what is this team going to be. And my biggest issue is I don't think anyone knows what this team is going to be. And I don't think their offseason was very impressive. And maybe my biggest problem is that Travis Hunter picked did not pan out. You had a top draft pick, and instead of getting a member of the roster that truly was a starter day one, you got a player that got hurt, didn't finish the season, and now he's coming in, and you're most likely going to play him at corner, not wide receiver, even though I've been saying he's a better corner than receiver, so that's a good move. But what are you going to do with him? If he's truly an NFL elite corner, then you're a lot better off than you think. But if he comes out and he's average at corner, and then you turn around and he's an average weapon on offense, and he's really not a difference maker, truth being told, that's a waste of a draft pick, which that pick could have helped your team be better immediately. And I don't think Travis Hunter makes his team better immediately. Hell, we watched last season. He didn't impact that team whatsoever, and he got hurt before any traction could be met. So we really don't know what we're getting with the kid. I think he can be a great football player, but great football players don't always mean valuable assets at key positions. Like Taysom Hill was a great football player for the Saints. That didn't incorporate them winning playoff games. I'm just saying, you really gotta hope that he's going to pan out how you want him to pan out, or that looks like a waste of a draft pick and really actually sets his team back more than you would like to admit. Next, probably one of my favorite takes, which I don't think anyone will be shocked by this. I had them winning the Super Bowl last year, and now I have the Green Bay Packers as a third place team. They did not win a game after Parsons went down. Parsons will not be back until October. This defense has went through a lot of turnover, losing a lot of key leaders on defense in the past couple of seasons. Jair Alexander, no longer there. Quay Walker, no longer there. Kenny Clark, no longer there. Rashad Gary, no longer there. You have really trimmed down this whole overall defensive roster, and the defensive coordinator is now a head coach for the Miami Dolphins. So now, not only have you lost some key pieces, you're waiting for Parsons to get back. You also lost the defensive coordinator that got the most out of this defense. Without Jeff Hafley there, who knows what this defense is going to perform? And that is not even my biggest issue. My issue was I thought Jordan Love was going to take an MVP-like leap, and he did not. Now, if this is the best of Jordan Love we get, I don't think that's bad. That means Jordan Love is always going to be in a top 15, top 12, potentially a top 10 quarterback in this league. His ceiling it's lower than we would like, but it's higher than most, which is awesome. That means his floor is a lot higher. That means he's on his worst games, he's still going to be better than potentially half the quarterbacks in this league. But I don't love the receiving core. You do have Tucker Kraft coming off of their starting tight end coming off of an injury. Christian Watson and Jaden Reed have never finished a full season. And Matthew Golden, who they drafted to be a top threat at receiver, never seemed to get it all together through a whole season. I think it is just a receiving core that got stripped down to its core. And honestly, I think his best connection was Romeo Doubs, and they traded him. And Dontavian Wicks also got traded. So you lost two pieces of your offense that I thought connected really well with Jordan Love. And you kept two pieces. Now, I think the two guys you kept were better receivers. But also at the end of the day, I think the connection is not as strong between Love and Reed compared to Love and Dobbs. But at the end of the day, this is what you're working with. I think Josh Jacobs is a great running back. And the first year I'm going to say this, he was injured a lot last season, and we saw some regression. Now, does that mean he's just taking more hits? He has had a lot of touches. in his young career. What does that mean? I don't know. I think Josh Jacobs is a phenomenal running back. But running backs, I mean, not everyone is going to be a Derrick Henry. Not everyone's going to last a long time, put large production, a consistent threat. Not everyone's built like him. Not everyone's going to play a long career like an Emmitt Smith. Like, it doesn't happen like that. Or a Frank Gore. Like, a lot of players, there's a lot more, let's be honest with you, Jamal Charles's short sprint of greatness, but the overall career didn't pan out long term. There's a lot more running backs like that, where they had 2 to maybe 5 years of, wow, they're really something special, and then the rest of their career they're and then gone. I don't want that to be for Josh Jacobs, as I am a huge Jacobs fan, but that should be a concern moving forward, and if it is not, then you aren't properly evaluating your team. That's why I think the Packers are going to be a third place team, because I don't think they know what they are. I don't think they know what they have. And I think in a division where the Vikings have maybe a better roster, just not a better quarterback, and the Bears and Lions definitely have better rosters, I would say definitely have, at least, I would say they're both better quarterbacks and better weapons. So you have two teams that might even, I mean, I would say the coaching is, depending on any given Sunday, any of these guys can coach well with each other. I might put Kevin O'Connell as the best coach in the division, but then again, that just because he's the best coach doesn't mean he's going to produce a division title. LaFleur is probably the most underrated coach in this division, but if he don't have the talent on his roster, doesn't mean he can win the division. And Dan Campbell might be the most outspoken of all of these guys. I mean, Ben Johnson was there, and Ben Johnson just as outspoken. Ben Johnson may have a better offensive mind, but Dan Campbell can get a lot out of his players, and that's something you can't undervalue at all. So it's a tough division, and these are some tough teams. And if the Packers take too many breaths or blink too many times, they're going to find themselves in third place, and it's going to be over before they get to really get things started, especially with two teams that the Lions have a lot to prove this season by after missing the playoffs last year, and the Bears have even more to prove. Caleb Williams apparently lost 13 pounds, and watching Colin Cowherd, he said he looked really quick at practice. So if Caleb Williams can have a strong arm, can cut down on sacks, complete more high percentage passes on the layups and the big plays, and can move a little quicker, I mean, the Bears have potentially the best team in the NFC. That's a team that can compete. That's a team that really can compete. If that defense can perform a little better across the board, not with just turnovers, but in overall performance, man, that is a team that's worthy of competing. And can the Packers beat them once? Can the Packers beat them twice? I don't know. Next on my list for third place teams would be, let me set up real quick, I think this is obvious. Yeah. It would be the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I love the Niners. Kyle Shanahan, great head coach. Brock Purdy, above average quarterback. Mac Jones, probably the best backup quarterback. Mike Evans ties Jerry Rice's record for most consecutive seasons of 1,000 yards. Missed it last year, but he did tie the record. Deebo Samuel's back in the building. George Kittle's still there. Trent Williams is still there. C-Mac is still there. Robert Saleh is not there. Fred Warner and Nick Bosa are coming off of season-ending injuries. I like the Niners, and I think they overachieved last season. But I think the Niners team we all expected last season is the Niners team we should expect this season. The wide receiver room is not, it's shiny with names, but I don't think it's shiny in 2026. Mike Evans is going into, his 11th, 12th NFL season. Had his considerable worst year last year, dealing with injuries and not hitting his 1,000-yard marker. Then Deebo Samuel, he's been regressing the last couple of years. The Niners originally let him go because he was regressing, it was too expensive. And now they've brought him back, and he's now he's 2 years older from the last time he was here. He's not going to play like he did in his peak with the Niners. C-Mac is another year older, and he's already getting a load of the carries. And I tell you, it's consistent with running backs. The more carries a running back get, the more touches the running back gets, the harder it is for them to stay consistently healthy. Look at Zeke, look at Todd Gurley, look at these guys that early in their careers got a lot of the load, and they're not. I mean, no one, like I said, no one's built like Derrick Henry. Like he's 1 of 1 in the NFL. And Christian McCaffrey's 1 of 1 with his ability, what he does. He's the best player on that offense. But if he gets hurt, that offense is screwed. They don't have another option. They don't have another guy that's going to be reliable every down that can produce at that level. Now, if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, I still bet on this team to win potentially 10 games because this is a team that goes through his heart and his spirit and his play, and he truly plays like a potential Hall of Famer. Now, is he going to get there? Who knows? But he definitely plays like it. He plays like an all-time legend already. Like everyone watching football now can say Christian McCaffrey is one of the best players in the NFL. He can catch, run, score, lead an offense. It's really impressive. But my problem is the overall age of the key players on this offense, and then the lack of presence on the defense. Fred Warner, like I said, how is he going to look coming off of his first real injury? How is Bosa going to look coming off of another severe injury? They don't have Robert Saleh there, so they're going to take a step down at defensive coordinator because he proved that he was a key component in their defensive success last year, even though it was minimal. And I think it was minimal because they had lack of depth, and I don't think their lack of depth was greatly improved from last year to this year. This is a team that could be one of the best 8-win teams out there, but they may win 8 games on the pure fact of they just can't depth-wise compete. And if McCaffrey gets banged up or Mike Evans gets banged up, they're rocking out with limited weapons. And I think it's not a formula for success, at least not in my opinion, because I think this team, the legacy of the Niners, the history of this franchise, how great Kyle Shanahan has been. I think there's so much greatness surrounding what this team does that people want to expect greatness out of them. But sometimes things just don't pan out as you want them to pan out. And I think this is one of those times where things are not going to pan out. And it's going to be a rough season. And it could be a very long season for the 49ers. Now, my next team would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, ending in 3rd place. I believe in Baker. I'm a big Baker guy. But I do think I've been saying this, and I do think this is the last year for Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this roster has aged. I think this roster has lost key components. Lavonte David, Mike Evans, Vita Vea wants a trade. Chris Godwin is out of his prime. Antoine Winfield Jr. he might not, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a potential trade target for other teams, as he's going to cost big money, and it might be smarter to move off of him and Vita Vea, depending on how this team looks going forward, especially if you've not paid Baker. This is time for the Bucs to rebuild. I really do believe that. You've hit a corner where it's time. You have some young receiving talent you want to build. You probably need to draft another running back in a year, as I like Bucky, but Bucky has not proven he can stay healthy. You need to improve pieces all across your defense to get it upright, and it's really hard to do that through the draft and free agency when you're paying your quarterback 48, 51, 53 million, whatever Baker's going to get, because if Baker has another good season, he's going to demand, and it's rightfully so, will demand 50 plus million. And it's not even him himself demanding it, it's the market demanding it. The market will owe him close to 50 mil. So if the market's going to owe him that much, then at the end of the day, someone's going to pay him. And if it's the Bucs, they're paying this quarterback all this money to once again regress as an overall team, because this team's been regressing every year. They were an old team when Brady was there. They were an old team when Baker took over. And now, 2 years, 3 years of Baker, they're even older. And some of them old guys are gone. And you still got old guys in the building. And you still got really young guys in the building. This overall Bucs team is just not where you want them to be. if you want to compete for playoffs and Super Bowls. And I think Baker really does. At least I believe as the competitor he is, he wants to compete for titles and championships and really show his value on a grand stage. And you're not going to do that with this organization at this point. And it's no shade to the Bucks, but I mean, point blank period. Todd Bowles has proven he has a clear ceiling. Maybe it's time to move on from him, even though he's not a bad head coach. And I think a young team that needs some direction would hire him in a heartbeat to give them some direction. I know Baker's a good quarterback. I know Baker has top 10 potential if he's top 15 maybe right now, maybe top 12 depending on how you want to put him. So you have to put him he has to make an executive decision to put himself in a successful situation. You have to give these rookie wide receivers. You're going to have to pay him eventually. Eventually, Emeka Ibuka, if he can sustain success, you're going to have to pay him. And then other young guys you're bringing, you're going to have to pay. Like I said, Winfield, Vita Vea, they want trades because they know if they don't get a big contract here, someone else is going to give them a contract. Winfield's been tied up, but he's gonna another contract's coming for him eventually. And Vita Vea wants to trade now, so when that time comes, he's going to get paid. And Baker wants that contract now. So I think it's time for the Bucks to really, like I said, I think they're a third place team because I think they're better than the Falcons overall. I think they have a more competent quarterback. I think I can believe in the organization a little more. I don't think it's much of a difference, but I definitely think them as a third place team, I believe in a little more because I think they still have a competitive spirit. I think this team wants to compete. I think this team wants to play really hard. I just think this is a season that if they don't make the playoffs, they're going to fall to the third place team because I think the roster of the Panthers is clearly better, and I think the direction of the Saints is clearly better. Now I may put the Panthers roster above the Saints roster, but I will not count out what the Saints I think potential can be. I think it's a unit that may not have stars everywhere, but I think they have a true direction, and I think having a direction matters. What is the Bucks' direction right now? I don't think they know, so how am I supposed to know? But next and lastly, I got the New York Giants as a third place team. And this is not a shade to the Giants. It's not a shade to Harbaugh. I believe in Harbaugh. I believe in Jackson Dart. I believe that this team can be really good in a few years, but they still lack depth overall. Their defensive back room is not overly impressive. Their wide receiving room is, no shade being thrown, but it's an older OBJ. It's Braxton Berrios, Juju Smith-Schuster, and another depth that just doesn't hold weight. Cam Scatterbo was injured last season. Can he produce again? Is he coming back? How is he going to be? Jackson Dart needs to progress, and I think that's the focus, is Jackson Dart. This defense is going to be good up front, but like I said, they need probably two more pieces in their DB room. I love the combination of Theo Johnson as Isaiah Likely at tight end. Likely can play like a receiver. I think he can make up for some of that lack of depth and lack of talent in the receiving room. But overall, this is a team that still needs some pieces, still needs some improvement. This season, if they win 10 plus games, I'd be very impressed. If they win 10 games, I'd be really impressed. Just because I don't think this team is going to scrape 10 wins. I don't think they'll scrape 8 wins. Now, I think 7 wins is very reasonable. And I think if they hit 8 or 9, it's very impressive. But this season should really, truly, solely be about, is Jackson Dart the guy? Let's progress him. Let's help him work on all of his mechanics. Let's help him read the field. Let's help him get comfortable in this new system. This season should all be about Jackson Dart. Because if Jackson Dart is that guy, which I believe he's that guy, if he can compete at a high level, if he is a really impressive starting quarterback, then you have a good future with this team. But you have to figure that out immediately. So this season should be all about him. So maybe the wins might not come in that instance. The wins will come if he's your guy. If he's your guy in another year with more additions to this roster, more improvements to this team, more years with everyone, Malik Neighbors back on the field running at full speed, the coaching staff has another year with all these players, another year in the scheme, in the system, this could really prove to be an affordable team moving forward. But as of right now, The Eagles have a better roster. Cowboys have a better roster. I think coaching wise, they have a better edge than they've had in a long time. But I mean, Sirianni's recently been to 2 Super Bowls. Harbaugh hasn't. And I'm not a big fan of Schottenheimer, but we know how Dak can play. Dak can play like an MVP caliber quarterback, and he's got the weapons to do it again. So this is going to be they're going to be a high scoring offense and a much improved defense. And the Eagles, even though I may not be as high on the Eagles, I am not going to discredit them and think they're going to be worse than the Commanders or the Giants when they're clearly a better roster than both teams, top to bottom. So, I think for the Giants, they're going to settle as a third place team. They may be a 7-win team. If they make it to 10, I would be impressed. If they make it more than 10, I'd be utterly shocked. But I do believe in this team long term. It's just, when you're looking at the division, you're looking at the season, you're breaking it down piece by piece. They're just going to have a lot to figure out early. But I think they can get to it, some steamrolling late, which will lead them into the 2027-2028 season as a higher competitor than they would be going into this season. But there we go. Those are my third place teams. So now you can kind of get a feel who I might place at second or first. I think some are going to be kind of obvious. Some might be shocking. But there we go. And as always, I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Stay tuned. We got a lot more to talk about for football in the coming month and in the coming season. I mean, the regular season's almost here. And I know I'm excited. I know you're excited. So, everyone, once again, thank you for letting me be part of your day. And have a good one.